Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to 94.932 FM. I am Peter Omo. All right, so for the next 28 minutes, we will just revisit some of the headlines from the world of football in the last 72 hours. I know we left here on Friday. We were here for the pitch on Saturday. So we'll just take you around some of those things we discussed on the show on Friday afternoon. So on the show today, we will just take a look at what happened in terms of European football. If we have time, we'll come back home. Shooting Stars, they've got no MPFL game, but they were involved in the State FA Cup. And that was done and dusted against Crown FC of Ogbomoso. So we'll come talk about that because over the weekend, I was just trying to find out how the FA Cup final were going down across states. And it was, I don't want to say a beat, it was more of a struggle for me to get my hands on results, except for some few. I saw that of Eyimba, I saw that of INT'L beating Ikorodu City. Then Shooting Stars beating Crown United, Crown FC of Ogbomoso in that game. So for the other states, not been able. Okay, so but in terms of what happened away from home, that we have access to, and I've also always had my issues concerning how the accessibility of getting information is. But we'll talk about how it all happened over the weekend for the leagues. I've mentioned a couple of leagues now, and that will be my question to Timileyin here with me and Blessing, who is somewhere away from the studio. Is it fair for us to say that the English Premier League, the German Bundesliga, the French League on that were done, it looks like Liverpool, Bayern Munich, and Paris Saint-Germain will win, and the only league or the leagues that will get us talking maybe to the month of May will be the Spanish La Liga, 3 Us, Italian Serie A, Inter and Napoli. Napoli couldn't get a win against Como. They lost by 2-1. Inter Milan were able to get a win against Genoa. So do we say, fair enough, these 3 leagues is done and dusted? For Liverpool going to Etihad and beating Manchester City by 2-0, 11 points from Arsenal Football Club, who lost their game on Saturday by 1-0 to West Ham. Timileyin, it's good to have you join me on the show this afternoon. We'll talk about this and many more. Blessing, it's a pleasure also having you from the other end. But let me start with Timileyin. Timileyin, my question is, are we done with the leagues? 3 leagues I mentioned. The other 2, is it where we should put our focus on? Or you think the 3 I mentioned, there's still a chance for the team in second to probably grab this one? But hey, it's over to you, SAMIES.
Well, good afternoon to everyone who has joined us on today's edition of the show, the first for the week. But to the question asked, yes, we look at England, where Liverpool yesterday, they opened an 11-point lead that's over Arsenal, who lost also over the weekend to the hands of West Ham. And you look at the way Liverpool, they've gone by their season. Probably you say this side, they are not going to lose more than 2 games till the end of the season. But for an Arsenal side, that they have players in and out of the side, their best player is not available probably till the later stages in the month of March. I think the league would have been far from over for Arsenal to actually play a catch-up by then. And for Arsenal, maybe what they should concentrate on now is how they can finish second, and if probably they can channel all of their energies into the European competition, where Liverpool also will be putting a much more attention to also. Remember, for Liverpool, they've gone the season so well, despite losing out to the hands of Plymouth Argyle, that's in the FA Cup 5th round, and then they're in the finals of the Carabao Cup. They are in the round of 16 of the UEFA Champions League, and presently they are top of the English Premier League standing. Not a bad debut season for that the Dutchman and Slot. And then you talk about the Spanish La Liga. All sides are won over the course of the weekend without conceding a goal. That's for Atletico de Madrid, who won by 3-0. Barcelona won 2-0, same as Real Madrid. And I say probably this is going to go down to the wire. And you look at the games left for these sides. Now it's easy for Real Madrid because they don't have Atletico in the way in the second leg anymore. But they have Barcelona, while Barcelona also has Atletico de Madrid, and they still have Real Madrid. And so how will they face off against each other? Right. Probably the hard part of it is on FC Barcelona and Real Madrid. And then the German Bundesliga, right from it, 8 points. I don't know what can happen. We actually question the pedigree of Vincent Kompany at this point. Can he guide these guys to win the trophy. You look at last season, they lost the league to the hands of Bayer Leverkusen 2 seasons ago. They won it on the last match day. That's when Borussia Dortmund also were supposed to win the league, but in their last game they couldn't get a victory in that encounter. So you look at it, can this be the third season where Bayern Munich, they are struggling? Yes, we can't say they are really struggling this season, but the result has really favored them, and they have an 8 points lead. But you didn't mention the Italian Serie A.
I did.
Top 3. It's actually a close one.
I thought top 2.
Surprisingly,
is there Atalanta in the mix?
There's Atalanta in the mix. 3 points. They are off the top of the table.
So I'll come to you. I don't want you to share everything, and then we'll have nothing to hear from you. Let me cross over to Blessing at the other end. So Blessing, you had SAMIES talk about the Premier League games for Liverpool, what is left for them, and for Arsenal. He spoke about the Spanish La Liga. He was about to jump to the Italian League, why I told him to hold them, because for the Italian League, I know these other teams won, but for me, what is catchy is that the Ademola Lookman put aside what Gasperini said to him and went into that game, and away from home in Empoli, where they won by 5-0, and he scored a brace in that game. Tonight, also, let me also add to Timilehin's, so that I'll come back to him later. It's a big game tonight in Turkey. That game wasn't on Saturday, not on Sunday. It was a Monday, and it's 6 p.m. It's Galatasaray of Turkey playing against Fenerbahce, and there will be no Turkish in charge of that game. But Blessing, before we get to that, let me first of all hear your thoughts. The leagues I mentioned, 3 of them, is it over? Sammy just said to me, you better add the Italian league. That looks like it's not over yet. Good to have you.
Yeah, good afternoon, guys. It's great to be on the show with you. I'm going to start off with the Premier League first and foremost. I feel like it's over and done with for Arsenal. They missed a huge opportunity to maintain that distance between themselves and Liverpool. And shout out to Liverpool for getting a very, very good victory over Manchester City. So for me, I think it is done and dusted. And Arteta perhaps has himself to blame for that one. And over in Italy, Napoli lost, surprisingly, really. I don't know what Fabregas is doing at Como. It looks like he's been able to steady the ship somehow, if I to put it that way, because I didn't expect that they were going to get a victory over Napoli. I think that in a way also blows the Italian league open. I do not think it is done and dusted. I do not think it's over, but it is essentially between Napoli and Inter Milan. I don't think Atalanta has maybe like an outside chance, but I don't think they are in that running for the title. And of course, for Lookman, it was a great way for him to put behind him the issues from the midweek in terms of the issues that he had with Gasperini. I love how he conducted himself on the field. His first goal was a thing of beauty, rounded up the goalkeeper and just calmly slotted into the back of the net. There was no point where he panicked, going into to get that goal. I thought it was incredible for him. Overall, it was such an amazing performance. I saw him walk off the pitch when he was taking off. I was hoping to see if Gasperini would maybe stretch his hand to him and want to shake him like, "Oh, you did great today." There was nothing of such, but I do hope it's nothing, more than what we are seeing, or maybe issues and cold blood between them, dressing room and whatnot. I do not. I hope that that's not an issue, but it was a great way for him to actually, respond. And with Spain, I think Spain is going to really get us talking for the time being, because I never expected, after Real Madrid opened I should say, an healthy lead on top of the table, I didn't think that Barcelona and Atletico Madrid would find a way to close the gap. And as it is now, if Real Madrid are not careful, especially with the number of injuries that they've suffered, it might become a big issue for them. They might, struggle to. It's going to be like, oh, Barcelona and Atletico Madrid have made their move. So what's your own move next? So everyone is under pressure to want to win the game. So I think the Spanish league is one that probably keep us talking until the end of the season. German Bundesliga, I don't think is done as well. 8 points is not unassailable because there's a tendency that Bayern Munich perhaps would maybe stumble at some point. There's also a tendency that Leverkusen would stumble. So if that happens, then you can say maybe the momentum is finally firmly with Bayern Munich. But at the moment, even though Bayern Munich, they have the momentum, and it's looking like a company will be winning first trophy in his first season in the Bundesliga, and Harry Kane finally getting his hands to a trophy. So yes, it's looking very good for them. Turkey tonight.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. Okay.
This is concerning the Italian Serie A. And then the next game in the Italian Serie A happens to be Napoli against the Inter Milan. That's in the league. Yeah. And then you look at how these sides are going to draw points. While Atlanta Football Club, they will be up against that's Venezia. And that's in the Italian Serie A. Which you
think is winnable?
It's a winnable. And then you look at the next game also for Atlanta. They'll be playing against the old ladies there in Turin.
Inter Milan.
No, Juventus.
They play Juventus. But what I'm seeing here is like playing Juventus, they're playing Inter Milan, they play Fiorentina, they play Lazio, they play Bologna.
It's almost like the same run of fixtures for them. Napoli will also play Inter, they'll play Fiorentina, they'll play Venezia, they'll play Milan, they'll play Bologna also. Then you look at the run of fixtures for this side.
Okay, so maybe you have to find a way to open the Italian fixtures in front of you. Maybe that will help, because from what SAMIES is putting up right in front of me here, it's making me to also say it's not looking like a 2 anymore. Because if Atalanta can go into the remaining games blowing hot, knowing that they're out of the UEFA Champions League,
they have a game against Inter to play, where to also fight for the title.
While I understand that, SAMIES, I understand that. But again, who would have thought that Como would defeat Napoli? These eventualities can happen at any point in time. Even though Atalanta do not have like pressure of other leagues, the Europa League or whatnot in their pool, or Champions League, they don't have that. But there's always the tendency that something can happen, and then there's just one bad game that becomes maybe 2 bad games that eventually has this ripple effect that they are unable to come back from. That's what I'm saying. So they may have less pressure at the moment, but if they are not careful, I mean, it could be an issue at the end of the day.
All right. So this you are pointing at to me.
Last match day, Como for Inter, they'll play Lazio. They will still play against Roma. So seriously, we have to wait until the later stages of the season.
Like I said, I think I agree with SAMIES now to say I should just chill. Maybe my chilling will be this weekend. You know what Atalanta will be hoping for is that Inter and Napoli cancel at each other.
Yeah.
And they get to win their game. And if that happens, that will mean Inter will be on 58 points, Napoli will be on 57 points, and Atalanta will be on 57 points. Yeah. 57 points. So it will be 57. There will be still number of points between Napoli and Atalanta. If that happens, this is just about if, not the game is not played yet. So Blessing, you spoke about Real and how they had this a bit comfortable lead and they could not get a win against Atletico, against Osasuna. Those 2 games, they got 2 points and been cut down, and now it's just same number of points with Barca anyways, but does that the Catalonians have scored more goals than the side from the capital, Madrid. And yes, yeah. So maybe this one, I still want to stick with 3 us, because SAMIES make a very salient point the other time. He said Barca have got another El Clasico against Real. This time will be at their home, and they are yet to play Atletico Madrid at the Metropolitano Stadium. So you might think that this is at games that Barca, if they want to win the league, they have to get the double over Real and get their, because don't forget they lost to Atletico by 2-1, so they have to go get that 3 point back from Diego Simeone's side.
But they have beaten Real Madrid.
Yes, they have. Met
them this season.
And it's looking like
Barcelona may have
complete
99
the
problems,
double.
but sometimes beating Real Madrid is not one. And so.
Hello, Blessing.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so I'm saying for Barcelona, I do not think the thoughts of Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid probably would be like some sort of issue for them. I mean, because these are teams that they naturally would want to get a good result again. And I mentioned Real Madrid, how they've met them twice already this season, and they've decimated Real Madrid. Like, they've always torn them apart, taking them to the cleaner. So it's something that could also repeat itself, especially saying that they seem to be on a good run of form at the moment, speaking of Barcelona. So at the end of the day, maybe Barcelona has got the momentum, but then Real Madrid, can they fight their way back in that El Clasico particularly?
You also need to know that, we also need to remind our listeners that these are 3 clubs that are still in the UEFA Champions League, still in the Copa del Rey, because on Tuesday, Atletico will play against Barca, Real will play away from home against Real Sociedad, and like I said, these 3 are still in the UEFA Champions League, and of course in the league.
The tough run of fixtures for Atletico.
Tough for Atletico.
Play Barca, go into the weekend, then they come midweek again next week to play against the Real in the Champions League.
All right. So, but we wish we can open the phone line. Yes, we can. 0705 5949 and 0809 7949. So allow you to weigh in all of this. We're talking about for Liverpool. You think it's done and dusted? For Arsenal, do they live to fight another day? Blessing, you mentioned Arteta, how this was down to him. I want to get that well. How?
Well, Ateta is a stubborn man. You should get that.
Why do you use the word stubborn?
Yeah, he's a very stubborn man, because if you are not stubborn, at the start of the season, you know you probably need a striker. He never got one. He went on getting midfielders that can, and defenders that can invert into the midfield, you know. And then the January transfer window came again. You already lost a very key member of the team in Gabriel Jesus in December. Then make your move to replace or find something, but you didn't. And then because you played against Leicester City, you got Merino playing as a striker, scoring 2 goals. Everything is well with the world again. Come on. I mean, I feel like he's the architect of whatever misfortune Arsenal is going through at the moment. Because if he had a point man, that game against West Ham, I don't think they would have lost it.
Just as Mikel Arteta is the face of Arsenal Football Club, yes, he's the manager. He can't take the blame alone. You look at the board also. What are they doing?
Did he request for a striker?
We were here for the 34 days of the winter.
So what did he do?
Seeing Mikel Arteta talk about the team, the lack this, the lack that. Did
they go in for any player?
That was a point where we had them linked. We had them been linked with.
Okay, so that was you put in a deal a few days to the close of the window, and you know that the other key man on that side was on his way to start. So maybe the question would be to both Blessing and Samis. Samis, I'll start with you. Is it down to the fact that there's nobody supporting him? You know, during the summer they had Edu. Edu was there to help while he was busy with the team. He was helping in the transfer market. Is it down to the fact that Edu was not there? Samis.
You look at that might actually be a factor, but you look at everything happening within the Arsenal Football Club now. Injuries that didn't happen to them last season, 2 seasons ago. Everything came up this season, and probably Mikel Arteta doesn't just have the right words to convince the owners that this is a season and we are fighting for the league title. Can you please get us these players where we can challenge a Liverpool Football Club? Imagine for Arsenal, I think they were 4 or 5 points behind Liverpool Football Club before the end of the winter transfer window. Now look at them. An 11-point leader for Liverpool at the top of the summit. And then you look at Arsenal. How did they go from bad to worse during that period? They didn't know that Kai Havertz and Gabriel Martinelli, probably those guys that were going to get injured. If they had seen that, I think maybe Arsenal would have gone into the transfer window and gotten some players. But we all know what comes with the January transfer window, where they say you might not really get the best of the best players during the winter transfer window. But there are players who have performed so well, and they were winter transfer windows. Virgil van Dijk, Bruno Fernandes, these guys were winter transfer window, and they've led their teams.
Because those clubs decide to sell then. Maybe the ones Arsenal are looking for. Blessing, let me come to you about the issue concerning nobody helping the Spaniard head coach for Arsenal Football Club.
I disagree with Samis. Because he said Arteta wouldn't get solely get the blame. And the reason why I disagree is this. We have to ask ourselves, since Arteta got to Arsenal, how much has he spent? How much was given to Unai Emery to spend, in the short frame that he spent there? We have to get to the point where we stop giving excuses for Mikel Arteta. How long has he been at Arsenal? How much has he spent in total? It's because I don't think it's a case of the board not backing him. It's a case of him understanding, okay, this is the brand of football I want to play. This is the style I want to play. And I'm just sticking to that style. Nothing else matters. And even the man that he learnt under, who played with the first 9, when the moment the man realized that Haaland was available, he went to the market, splashed the huge cash and brought him on. And we all know what Haaland did in his first season at Manchester City. So that's what I'm saying. For me, I feel it's down to Arteta and his philosophy. You must be able to and willing to switch and change when necessary. That's the point with coaching.
As much as I don't like that statement from Patrice Evra, I would say it. We just have to wait till next season to see what Arsenal have to offer.
So you know what he's saying. It has become a series now.
When I say wait till next season, Blessing made mention of something, and I really key into that. He has spent a lot on players. defenders, he has gotten lots of defenders into that side, lots of midfielders also into that side. But the question that is obvious to many, how many strikers, how many forwards has Mikel Arteta gotten into this Arsenal side? Just three. Just three. Trossard, Kai Havertz, and Gabriel Jesus. Those are the three.
We're talking about strikers, not even just forwards, strikers, like a proper number 9.
No, I'm talking about forwards. These are the three forwards brought into Arsenal.
She's talking about the number. You know, Kai Havertz is not a proper number 9.
Of course.
Gabriel Jesus isn't a proper number 9.
Isn't a number 9, but he's a forward.
But blessing, SAMIES, I know back then, it's an Arsenal side that will score 50 goals and concede maybe 48. But it's a different case entirely now. It looks like they're defending now well. I know that the last few games have not been able to keep clean sheets. But Arsenal of Arsene Wenger and a bit of the other guys who took charge before Arteta came on board will always concede. But some will say they'll go ahead to win games. But I was thinking that all of this will change, concede less and score more goals. We'll talk about time. We need to switch attention because we'll come back to the issue concerning Arsenal Football Club at a point in time before the end of the season. Let's talk about the big game tonight in Turkey. It's Gala up against Fenerbahce. It's Jose up against Victor Osimhen. Osimhen is not the coach of Galatasaray. I'm just trying to say, in terms of the headliners in this part of the world, we know that when you talk about Victor Osimhen, you know what he can bring to the table. And when you talk about Jose, you know what Jose will also do on the pitch. So tonight the game will be officiated by a Slovakian, not a Turk. Because it's big. They don't want Mago blessing. I remember we were here saying some compromise decision in favor of the Turkish giant. Maybe because of that, they don't want to bring in anybody from Turkey. It reminds me of each time Zamalek play against Al Ahly of Egypt. You don't see Egyptian referees. They go to Europe and get one. Tonight, that will be the case in Turkey.
I mean, perhaps this is the the board, the Turkish, league, the Super League board now saying to themselves they have to maybe find a way to ensure that the attention is not on the referee, the attention is not on officiating, and the attention is kept solely on whatever is going to happen on the pitch in terms of football. But regardless of that, I think we should always expect a feisty encounter between these two sides. We talked about the team that walked off against Galatasaray. Wasn't it last week or thereabouts?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone has had the same complaint. Even over in the Spanish La Liga as well. I've been seeing Javier Tebas calling Real Madrid crybabies because they've been complaining about officiating as well. So I think I would expect a feisty encounter between these two sides. And knowing that there's just about, is this 8 points? Is it 8 or 5 points? Between Galatasaray and Fenerbahce on the log.
6 points.
Just 6 points. Yeah, so it means that for Fenerbahce, they think to themselves if they can get a victory, which means that they probably will be able to push Galatasaray a bit more. But if that doesn't happen, it means that it puts them in a very difficult situation if they want to, eventually win the league. And I feel like these games is the kind of game where Osimhen can actually maybe I don't want to say show himself because he's been showing himself a lot since he joined the Turkish Super League, but pretty much just put his stamp on this kind of fixture, because there'll be other big teams who are watching and thinking, okay, maybe we can splash our money on him at this point. But again, I can't wait to see what Jose Mourinho's after comments would be about this game, but I expect a feisty encounter nonetheless.
Gala out of the UEFA Cup, but Fenerbahce are still in it. So, SAMIES, worth a game tonight for 6 p.m.
Just as I'm looking at the game, Blessing rightfully made mention of Victor Osimhen, who has probably been a different man since moving to Turkey. And then you talk about some certain men also who are within Fenerbahce Football Club. You talk about that's Yusuf Enyetsi, the Moroccan international. He is third on the goal-scoring chart with 15 goals. And then they have a man topping the assist. That's Dusan Tadic also. I think they have all those hold legs. They have them.
There's 𝐷𝐿 there.
There's 𝐷𝐿 there. Scored in the
we mentioned
Europa
one.
League.
We mentioned one Nigerian. We didn't mention the other one. There's
Samuel, Bright Osai Samuel. He's also within the ranks. And then you look at this encounter from head to head now. Fenerbahce, they hold that's it outrightly. 101 wins they have over that Galatasaray. While Galatasaray, they hold 87 wins, and they've actually settled for a draw. That's 91 times. But going into this encounter, 6 points. Can we see that reduced? Yes, we can see that reduced. And I think the last time they these teams faced off against each other. We had yellow cards, up to 9 yellow cards in this game, where it was down to the discipline on the field of play. And this is something we can't take away from that. And I think that's the reason where Slovak has been appointed as the center referee for this encounter. We all know how this man definitely officiated at the UEFA Champions League final, I think last season.
Yeah, Dortmund
Real Madrid. So this game outside of Turkey, there is going to be a crowd control, and I think that's the main reason why it is out of Turkey. And every of the player and officials from each team can be properly guided. So let's enjoy the best of football. That's for the midweek. Galatasaray against Fenerbahce, the biggest game I see in Turkish football.
All right, definitely. There's no point for anybody to come here and come and make a case or come and argue this. This is the 2 biggest side in Turkey. There's Besiktas, there's Trabzonspor, yes, but these 2, they are big. All right, so thank you so much, Blessing, for your time, for doing this. We'll do it again on Friday when we'll come talk about all the events coming up this weekend.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
All right, so SAMIES, good to also have you with me, but we're done for today. But we'll be back again on Tuesday morning, 7:45. That will be Scoreboard in 15. Coming up, once we're out of here, will be the news. I am Peter Omo.